What is up, nation? It is your boy C-Ton back again with another PWC recap. This time it has been requested that I do the D-League, and I didn't pay attention to the D-League at all during the regular season. I started paying attention towards the last 2 weeks and in playoffs because I was added to the D-League chat. Um, so this is going to be interesting. I don't really know how these teams did other than looking at their records. But yeah, I'll just go through the teams and kind of give a little bit of bullshit insight. This is for you, ABP. And X, you can't give me shit anymore because I actually did it. So first off, we have the Los Angeles Zelfs of Anaheim. Nice team name. Coached by Smeargle. He's a nice dude. I've been talking to him. We have our new server. So D-League and Main have unified on the same server. So like he's been chatting. Funny dude. Yeah, his team is rocking Mega Sceptile, Jirachi, Gengar, Galvantula, Darmanitan, Mantine, Zangoose, Kyurem, Black Fortress, Salk, and Zoroark. First off, I like the synergy between the Mantine and the Fortress. It's kind of similar to what Luna was doing with incredibly fat, especially defensive Mon, and incredibly fat physical Mon. Gengar is an absolute steal in tier 2. I don't really think Galvantula is super necessary on this team. I feel like he would have been better off with a different tier 3 Mon instead. Maybe like something a little fatter along the lines of... never mind, I was going to say Porygon too, but it doesn't really have anything to take advantage of knockoffs. Maybe like an Alolan Muck if that was available. I haven't looked at these teams at all, by the way. This is just kind of first look. At the end of the season, I kind of looked at them when they were in playoffs, but yeah. I think the synergy between Sceptile and Jirachi is really good. Obviously, Sceptile has pretty limited weaknesses. Same with Jirachi. They kind of share fire, not weakness, but neutrality. Actually, this entire team looks pretty fire weak. Darmanitan and Mantine are the only resists. And Darmanitan isn't to resist for anything, so that doesn't really count. Yeah, pretty interesting looking team. I personally don't think I'd ever draft anything like this. I also don't really know... Well, I know how Zoroark's mechanics work, but I'm not good enough at manipulating the mechanic to ever think about drafting it. Maybe next season I'll start working with it. But anyway, looks like Smeargle finished 2-9, minus 23. Ooh, okay. So I'm assuming a lot of teams saw the lack of fire switch-ins. Additionally, there aren't really many ground switch-ins except for Sceptile and Mantine as well. But interesting looking draft. I think Galvantula is kind of a wasted slot there. Next up, we have a Mega Latias team. Oh god. Mega Latias, Infernape, Milotic, Crocodile, Serena, Swellow, Garbodor, Sylveon, Mismag. Wow, this team is insane. How did Mamoswine last 3 free rounds? Does it show like the actual draft? Where the hell is Mamo picked? Press I have to pay respects. That's funny. Mamoswine. Mamo went in the 9th round? What the fuck, D-League? Holy shit. Alright. I guess good for them. He got an absolute steal there. I love Garbodor. Being able to set spikes and T-spikes. Yeah, he doesn't really have the best options as the captains. Crook is okay, I guess. Infernape is one of my favorite Pokemon. A really solid Fire Water Grass core with Infernape, Milotic, and Serena. All, well, not really Infernape, but being able to take hits. Additionally, adding Mega Lati to this team is insane because Mega Lati on its own just wins game. So I feel like this team should have made playoffs. I don't really like Magneton on this team really either because most of his team handles steel types really well. Like there's no need for that. I feel like he could have gotten more value out of his tier 4. I guess it was just like to grab an electric type, but at that, like, you can't force that in my opinion. But I mean, hey, to each his own. He finished 7-4 plus 9, just missing playoffs. That's unfortunate. It's snuck in over him. I'll drink my basic iced coffee real quick. Next up we have Morini, the Salt Sainty, whatever that means. Morini, Mega Glade, okay, what the fuck? How is this team allowed? Mega Glade, first of all, in Tier 2, I believe it was ridiculous. Zygarde and Magearna was not the first overall pick. That's insane. And then they add the likes of Alolan Muck to be able to Pursuit Trap its weaknesses. Oh my goodness. This team is ridiculous. Crabominable. I don't really like it, but with this team, it forces you to prep for a Trick Room mode with Slowbro, Kofag, Armaldo, Muck, and Crabominable, as well as a fast mode with Gallade, Zygarde, Crobat, Arcanine, even potentially Magearna there. So, I mean, I get why it's here. I don't think it should have been a Z Captain. That probably should have gone to Zygarde to spam devastating Drakes. But, yeah, this draft is absolutely ridiculous. How did this team lose? He finished 7-4 plus 15. Yeah, no way. Yeah, he came in second. I'm surprised this team didn't win at all. This team is ridiculous. Rotom Mow is such a value pick in Tier 4 as well. In my opinion, it's one of the better Rotom forms aside from Rotom Heat and Rotom Wash. Rotom Heat's probably the best if you have Hazard support on your team. And then Rotom Wash, and then Rotom Mow is really close behind. But this team is absolutely ridiculous. Again, I don't really think Crabominable should have been a Z Captain because a lot of its moves don't necessarily need the Z Crystal, in my opinion. But, I mean, he had his vision for the team, and it clearly came to fruition because this team is ridiculous. Next up, we have Rapidashes, the Denver Rapidashes. Nice, whatchamacallit, city choice. Coached by Frost, and Frost apparently left the league, but I heard nothing but amazing things about him as a battler. Rocking Veil, Zard X, that's a really cool combo. Zard X is one of my favorite megas to use. How did he have 380 points? Did he franchise something? Yeah, he must have franchised the Tier 3, and it just doesn't have an asterisk, or he dropped it. But he has Zardex and Latios, so have fun fairies. And then that's paired with Bronzong and Alolan Ninetales for his Fairy Steel Dragon, which is a pretty fat core when Ninetales gets its Aurora Veil. Additionally, bulky Zardex is always really fun. Mandibuzz is very reliable hazard control, but that's his only hazard control. And defog Latios, but I feel like Latios on this team is here to just drop Dracos to bring in late game Zardex to clean up. He also has Delma. Sorry, his font is really dark, so I'm like struggling to read through it. Rhydon is a really good Mon in Tier 5. Throwing a Violet on it, and it's really, really fat. Eel Truth is one of those electrics that probably would have been better with Boulder's team. But looking over it, yeah, his speed tiers are pretty scary too. Well, not really. They'll hit pretty much the same point, except Persian's way above. And then Rhydon, Bronzong, Eeltros are slow. Nidoking is 95, I believe. I don't know Mandibuzzes, but they usually just run full bulk. But it's 100 Zardex, 110 Latios, 109, I think it is, or 108 Ninetales A. I don't remember. And then the same with Keldeo. I think Keldeo is 108. But yeah, I mean, just a scary team to switch into. Like Specs Latios plus Specs Keldeo just probably ran through teams. He was 8-3 plus 17. Or I think he was 8-1 when he left the league, and then he had to leave the league and took forfeits on the last two battles. But yeah, really strong draft. I don't necessarily have any qualms with it. Great value, steel type in Bronzong. It actually moved up a tier this season, so that's not going to be happening again, unfortunately. Sorry, I'm trying to move my chair. But yeah, I think he really capitalized on threats that he could grab. I don't think he needed to take Keldeo as early as he did, but when your last two picks are Persian and Eeltros, you don't really need to prioritize grabbing them. Next up, we have Itz and the Nido Kings. Only reason I know Itz is because he's in Maine. Really cool dude, big fan. Hopefully you're up next season, Itz, if you're watching this anyway. I absolutely love his team. Well, aside from the fact that he uses sand, because sand is dumb. But the Mega Gardevoir Hydreigon combo is so good. I haven't used it since my first season in the league, or in league. The only super noticeable thing about his team is that his Dragon Resist doesn't want to come in on dragons. I mean, obviously he has Gardevoir that can come in. And never mind, he has one of the biggest like threats to his team in Excadrill. If he didn't have Excadrill, he'd probably just lose straight up to it. But this draft reminds me a lot of Luna's as well, mainly because he has a lot of similar mons through Nihilego, Rotom Wash, and Hydreigon. Yeah, Shaman, great value, tier 3. I was hoping, whatchamacallit, X Proud Prep Firm, and Shaman is just so ridiculous. It just sits there. I don't necessarily think Nihilego is a tier 1 worthy pick, personally. But I absolutely love Stunfisk as static hazard setter. Rotom Wash, again, as I was saying earlier, tremendous Pokemon. And he has like the most notable Mold Breaker mon. Haxorus could be an issue for this team, actually, now that I'm looking at it, but nothing too crazy that you can't play around. I don't really like... I mean, I guess I like Cloyster because it like gives a pseudo threat of spike setting, but I feel like it doesn't really synergize with the rest of the team very well. Same with Pyroar. I mean, I guess again you can just spam normal if your opponent doesn't have a steel type, but yeah, I mean those are the only two real gripes with the team. Obviously, Gigalith Excadrill is pretty, I don't want to say mindless, but pretty easy to play with. But being able to utilize Gardevoir is really strong, and he finished 7-4 +2, so he did make the playoffs. So yeah, we ended up helping, like we mentioned, X prep for this team. Really strong. Hitmontop is a tremendous tier 4 value. He definitely took advantage of his lower picks with Hitmontop, Gigalith, and Stunfisk. But yeah, really good draft by Itz. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. Next up is Hyperfangs, and this literally looks like he went into my notes and grabbed mons that I like, except for Amoonguss and Registeel. His team is Fat, plus Fat, plus Fat, plus Fat, plus Torn-T, Victini, Megalopony, which in theory should be good, but it kind of ends up becoming really passive, and you can get played around very easily. A lot of the team ends up becoming setup fodder, which with Megalopony obviously not being able to run a Choice Scarf, you'll get outspeed by anything at +1 for the most part. Torn-T, again, I talked about my draft recap, or my season recap, one of my favorite mons to use. This actually looks pretty, not identical, but very similar to my... it was either my first or second draft. Like, I ended up missing playoffs by 1 game, which sucked, but I mean, it is what it is. Dodrio is probably one of the better tier 5 mons available with its buff this generation. I think it gained attack and it also gained some coverage. Druddigon is a tremendous tier 4 dragon value. I hate Togetic though. Togetic is very passive and similar to like the likes of Registeel and Amoonguss to an extent. It can get set up on pretty easily. I would have switched Amoonguss out for Tangrowth in tier 3 if it was available, but obviously Tangrowth gets taken pretty early in these drafts. And then played around that. Probably dropped Manectric for... I think Manectric is tier 4. If it's not, then never mind. But played around it that way. to grab value in Tangrowth and then grabbed another offensive threat in tier 2. Yeah, I mean, I like the team on paper, but I know in practice it doesn't perform well, from personal experience. Really tough to play around. And the Minnesota Hyper Fangs, coached by Thunder, went 4-7, -10, which kind of makes sense. I also think Victini is one of the worst pixies, like in draft format, personally. I think it gets incredibly outclassed by Jirachi, Manaphy, Shaman, even in tier 3, I think outclasses it. But I mean, hey, that's just my personal opinion. I know a lot of people that live and die by Victini, so good for you guys. It's just not personally for me. Next up, we have the Rockets, coached by Nathaniel. And I hate this draft, personally. Like, a lot. Mega Bennett used to be like my go-to, we're going to grab this Mega for 80 points, but it's been nerfed so much. The ability Prankster in general got nerfed, and then additionally, the best thing that I felt Mega Bennett was used for, I used it as a Destiny Bonder. So I'd basically just take out one of my opponent's mons, because I can just spam Destiny Bond. But you can't do that anymore because you can only click it once, then it works as Protect, where the odds tip drastically. He grabbed Coco in what looks like the 6th or 7th round, so that's really good. Coco is a phenomenal Pokemon in the format. I love Goodra, but Goodra being the Z Captain user over Lando T makes literally no sense. Lando T is the best, maybe not the best, but top 3 Z users in the format. I love Tangrowth, but there's no need for it on this team. He has so much SPDF on this team already, that like Tangrowth's best set is the AV set, like pretty hands down in my opinion. Obviously, you can run the Sleep Powder or Leech Seed kind of tech, but I feel like it gets taken out very easily with that set. And additionally, he doesn't really have any pivots to work around with. Like his Ice Resist is Emboar and Jinx, and I guess Asmontoad to an extent. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this team needs. I'm gonna sneeze. Hang on. I don't know what. I just don't like this team. I don't see Jinx being a good tier 5 mon at all. I feel like there are a ton of tier 5s that are available that could have been utilized much better. Lando T should have been a Z Captain. Florges and Goodra just seems redundant as a pairing. I mean, I get that he wanted a dragon on his team, but grab a more offensive dragon at that point. But, I mean, hey, I feel like actually looking at it, Komodo would have been a good tier 2. And then swapping out Emboar for something else would have been pretty good for him, I think. Hell, he could have grabbed Magmortar in tier 5 and then use that in Jinx spot, and then grab something good in tier 3. But I mean, I guess that's just me. He finished 2-9 -28. From what I've heard from the D-Leaguers, the Houston Team Rockets, he was more of like a meme player. Like he brought a lot of meme sets. So obviously that's not gonna go super well in league format. But anyway, moving on, we got the Pachirisus, which is now coached by Max. This was a switch, like a coaching switch. And Max ended up bringing the team back into playoffs because of Frost leaving. And I love this team personally. Additionally, Max was a tremendous battler from the couple that I watched. He sent his team in for the semifinals match then too, and it was very precise in his EVs, which was really, really interesting. Well, not interesting, but really impressive to me. He has likes of Diggersby, Dose, and Megaladios, which is alone horrifying. And then you pair in Scolipede with legalized Speed Pass. Sorry, I needed coffee. Klefki for hazard stacking. Decidueye to trap things in. Really good value is Chirogonal tier 5. a really good value Cryogonal in tier 5. I don't know that I... actually, never mind. I was going to say, I don't know that I like T-Tar in this team, but I could see a really good... yeah, I like T-Tar on this team. Never mind. Because without T-Tar, Psychic types kind of have a good time against it, except for Megaladios. But if you're bringing Special and they bring Calm Mind Spam, they'll obviously outbeat you. Again, this is another Blaziken as Z user. Looking at his team, I don't really see many better options aside from maybe Decidueye, but I think Blaziken's speed tier just kind of hinders it as a Z user. He grabbed another great value tier 5 in Piloswine. That's kind of one of the big things I look at when drafting, because if you draft a shit tier 5 mon, or shit tier 5 mons, it just kind of takes away from teams prepping for you. So instead of prepping for 11 mons, they only prep for 9, and that makes their lives so much easier. Scolio PWC Captain, phenomenal. Diggersby plus... actually, the one thing I'm noticing about this team is it's primarily physically offensive. Decidueye can obviously run both. Megaladios can obviously run, is mainly special, but like also has the physical sets that are really good. And his defensive core is pretty reliant on Zapdos Alomomola, which is pretty not easy to break, but it could become problematic because of Zapdos not being, an electric resist. Obviously, you can play around that with the rest of his team because he has the likes of Latios, Diggersby, and Cryogonal with Spadef. Additionally, T-Tar with Spadef. But yeah, I really like this team. Max brought it back to playoffs. Made it to the semifinals, I believe, against Trish, and then ended up losing. And this is the last non-playoff team that we're going to talk about. The last 3 teams made playoffs, which is funny because they're the 3 worst draft picks, or draft positions. So we got Ampharos, the Austin Ampharos, coached by SEA. I don't know anything about this guy, but he has a pretty okay draft. Magmortar was taken, so whoever I said to grab Magmortar, never mind. Actually, I kind of like this draft. It has spread out speed tiers. I think this hits 375. Autotomize, I don't know what it can hit, but it's obviously really high. 361 in the Zelf. Setup options in Haxorus. But then it drops pretty drastically. Z Drapion seems pretty dumb when you have a Tapu Bulu sitting right there. Additionally, you have a Thunderous Therian sitting right there. And I guess he dropped his other Z Captain. He also has a Haxorus sitting here. What the hell? What were you thinking, dude? But yeah, Thundy T, not as good as Thundy I in any sense of the word, but yeah, it would have been a great Z Captain user. So I guess you missed the ball there. Flying Spam from Pidgeot. This dude's team gets pretty... Actually, I like this team. I don't know how this dude lost so much, because he went 2-9 minus 13. Also, Tapu Bulu paired with Hariyama is a really cool pairing. It's kind of... I was going to say it's kind of detrimental to Haxorus, but I think Haxorus can play around the Earthquake resistance pretty easily. Magmortar isn't a terrible pairing with Tapu Bulu. I feel like he should have gone elsewhere. I feel like grabbing an Azumarill with one of these two would have been really good. And then getting rid of Empoleon for something else with a lot of bulk in that tier. He also doesn't really have that great of hazard control with a team pretty rock weak. His only hazard control is looking like Empoleon. So that's pretty detrimental. Yeah, I don't mind the team. I think he has a lot of momentum options. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he has 3 momentum options into some pretty big threats. T-Spikes is very viable. I don't know. I think this team should have done better. But anyway, moving on. We got X, who is now in main. So congrats to X. His team is super, super fat. Fat. Plus Garchomp. So yeah, I mean, every time I tested against him, I just brought like 4 Toxic Mons and then just recover stalled on him. Um, but I love his team though. Like with that being said, Trace Porygon 2 with the Violates, absolutely incredible. Suicune, it's pretty weak without the Calm Mind support, I found out. Because I used it in a League War, and I was running offensive Z Crystal, and it only did like 80% with max attack. So, like, to a regular Scizor, which is kind of crazy. But he stacked his weaknesses really well. Additionally, Nidoqueen, I think, is the best Pokemon on this team. Not like the best Pokemon, but like the most supporting. Nidoqueen plus Togekiss is a really, really good combo. He has good hazard control in Togekiss, Arrow, and Mega Scizor. Mega Scizor obviously doesn't appreciate running Defog, but yeah, I mean, it absolutely can. Doesn't have any spinning options that I'm seeing. Yeah, I mean, pretty straightforward team. Really fat with some good wall breakers. And he finished 8-3 plus 11, ended up winning the finals, so congrats to him. Next up, we have the reason I'm making this really uninformed video and kind of just rambling is ABP, coach for the Washington Charizards. Rocking Mega Diancie with the Mega buff. Mega Diancie is incredibly good. Mew, Salamence, really good choice of Z captains because they're both busted as fuck. Rotom Heat, which I was saying is probably the best Rotom form if you have hazard control, which he has with Magic Bounce, Mew, Hitmonlee, and that's it. Umbreon to just sit there and be annoying. Miltank to just sit there and be annoying. Clef Lucario, which is really cool. You don't see Lucario drafted too often. So I like that paired with Mew because obviously Mew is asking for knockoffs, and switching into Lucario to get that justified boost is really, really nice. I don't personally like Scrafty much, but it's a good value option for Intimidate. Plus AB Scrafty is really, really bulky. Absolutely love Sceptile on this team. I don't know if he brought it at all, but Sceptile can take advantage of so much in this format. I don't want to go too much into it because I might end up picking it up in PWC season. But I feel like he has a really good balance between offense and defense. Mew having a ton of versatility. A lot of his mons pretty much work towards setting up for Salamence Sweep. Additionally, Clef most of the time just ends up sitting there and winning games on its own. AVP finished 6-5 plus 3. He lost in the first round to Max. I believe it was meme Klefki set. I think Max speed passed into Klefki, and then Klefki calm minded up until it won. But I really like AVP's team. Looks pretty ground weak in my opinion. Obviously, he has a Rotom Heat and Salamence, but if you can keep rocks up against him, those aren't really switch-ins because you can play around it pretty easily. Yeah, really cool team for AVP. Next up, we have Rish. Rish is the coach of the California Kyogres. He finished 8-3 plus 13. I hate Rish, and I'm just kidding. I was gonna end the video there. I like Rish's team a lot. I think the Pharaoh Tran Primarina core is absolutely insane. He has a ton of repeat typings, but who cares? Like, I hate people who are like, I need one of every type. I'm not going to repeat any of my typings. He has 2 waters in his tier 3s, but they perform entirely different roles. He has 2 steels, but they perform entirely different roles. He has really good hazard control with Magic Bounce, Mega Absol, Blastoise with Spin, Gligar with Defog. Scarf Miancho probably came a lot for this team to poke holes in the team. The opposing team for late game Dragonite. Looking at this team, I feel like Dragonite did a ton of work during the season because Primarina pokes holes through anything that resists Dragonite. Same with Miancho. And I don't know, I feel like Let me see the kill sheet thing. If they update, I hope they updated. I feel like Dragonite did a lot. He's probably the last team. Yeah, Dragonite had 17 kills. Holy shit. Heatran had 10 too. Wow, he used it really offensively. And Mienshao had 9. Look at Primarina. Oh my god, the fucking goat. Oh man. Okay. Anyway, Zoroark was on the team for 1 week and didn't come. Shout out to Zoroark. Yeah, I like Wish's team a lot. This, I don't think I'd ever draft something like. I feel like I'd have a similar concept, but it wouldn't be with these mods. Primarina Heatran is so lovely though, paired with Ferrothorn. This trio is so good. I love it. Anyway, Rish is also in main now. He was the vote up player. So congrats to Rish. Shoutouts to ABP for making me do this 30-minute video about people I know nothing about, teams I know nothing about, and battles I know nothing about. So, yeah. Also, I just noticed Manaphy didn't get drafted. Who the fuck doesn't draft Manaphy? Like, what the hell? What other mods were? Anything else noticeable? Thundy. Wait, someone grabbed Thundy T and not Thundy I. What the fuck? Alright, anyway, that's gonna be it. Peace.